I'm Magalie Laguerre-Wilkinson here from the Diaspora Salon in Marrakesh, Morocco, with yet another fantastic guest. I'm so excited. Pamela Newkirk, author, university professor, femme extraordinaire, and really we've just another extraordinary panel that you were part of. You know, I want to start off by coming off of a quote. You know, I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but you said that there is a lack of multidimensional portrait of Black people. And that's another way of saying that we're not a monolith. I mean, you know, we have the example here in this very place.
Right.
Where does that come from?
Well, it comes from all of the portrayals of us in popular culture, whether we're speaking of history books, or we're thinking of literature or music. There is this pretty static depiction of Black life that omits so much of our culture, right, across the diaspora. And if you only looked at the U.S., if you came from Mars and you had a idea of what Black Americans were, you would think they were all into hip hop, or they were athletes or entertainers, or you would just have this very limited view,
narrow,
because of the ways in which the dominant portrayals of them permeate the global media, not just in the United States, but it's transmitted around the world.
You are an author of many books.
Just five.
Just five. But this is your life's work.
It is.
And how has it become your life's work? How did it start?
Well, it started in the newsroom. I spent 10 years as a daily news reporter, and I covered everything from a suburb in Albany, New York, to the state legislature, to Capitol Hill. I was there and covered the release from prison of Nelson Mandela. But despite my personal success as a journalist, what I had witnessed over 10 years is the uphill struggle to present balanced portraits of Black people in the news, because of this resistance to the reality of who we are. So many of my editors don't believe that we exist beyond the frame, that static frame. And I mean, let's be clear, these depictions come from the academy first, right? They were used to justify slavery. And
when you say the academies, or
universities, right? That comes from the top academics in Cambridge,
because if they're saying
Oxford, and their scholarship was used to rationalize slavery, right? Because now you can say this is some civilizing mission, and you're actually doing good work, because these people had no culture, they had no history, they had nothing that was better than being brought to all of these spaces to work as.
So in a way, they were being saved.
They were being saved, right? Because otherwise they'd be swinging from trees, in Africa. So, and then there's so much pseudoscience around this view of so-called Black inferiority that's baked into scholarship, right? You had people like Louis Agassiz at Harvard, saying how Black people were intellectually inferior. He's taking pictures of them to kind of other them, like their bodies are different, their brains are different. There was a whole science around measuring brains and trying to use those measurements to justify difference and therefore inferiority. Anthropology, the whole system, is founded on this principle of a hierarchy of races, with Northern Europeans at the top, and guess who's at the very bottom of that hierarchy. So these ideas have been codified over centuries, and there should be no surprise that we are still wrestling with what is now more subliminal until this past year.
Yeah.
Now they can say the quiet part out loud, but the reason why what he's saying resonates so much is because it's what's been fed people over generations. So this doesn't just end. Something that I've long said is that because of the complicity of universities, right, in rationalizing this worldview, when are university presidents going to come forward and apologize for the systemic damage they've done? So it just floats like it's still out there, but no one is really challenging it in a way that puts an end to it.
When you wrote your first book, did you think this was going to be your only book? Or did it open, like I said, this has been your life's work now. And what did this? It's like you're peeling back this onion in a way.
Well, I guess I didn't. One book led to another, and one article led to another book, and maybe like I knew that this is the area I was passionate about, portrayals, because I didn't know the people who I saw in the media. I didn't recognize them. They weren't the people I grew up with. They weren't my parents. They weren't my neighbors. They weren't. I didn't know those people. So I think originally I naively thought if only people knew what was going on, we could change it. So when I wrote Within the Veil, Black Journalists, White Media, and I exposed what Black journalists had gone through in the newsroom, right? Chapter and verse of all of the ways in which race informs what we see in the media. Why, despite the infusion of all of these dedicated Black journalists, we had not made an appreciable difference in the way Black life was depicted in the media. And so, I'm showing these stories. I'm showing how, Janet Cook was able to fabricate this story about an 8-year-old heroin addict who was like shot up in his parents' home, and before a reporter, no less.
Yes.
And no one cared what happened to him. What do? They submit that story for a Pulitzer. It's nominated and it wins because Janet Cook knew that story would feed into the machine of what's desired, particularly from a Black reporter.
If she's saying it, then it must be.
Well, no, because they already think it. So she is now
affirming it.
They're like, see, even she sees what we see. Now, we don't know how many stories Janet Cook wrote that were not about dysfunction, not about pathology, that didn't make it to the front page and got nominated for a Pulitzer. But we do know that this is what was prized.
It was what was prized.
And we know of many Black journalists who have tried and tried and tried to write another example. The same week that the Central Park jogger was attacked in Central Park, and it made international headlines. Reporters flew in from all over the world to cover that story. The same week, a woman in Harlem was raped, thrown from a 25-story building, grabbed hold of a cable, survived, and only one newspaper in New York wrote a little blurb on it. So this is the way that Black life has been consistently devalued in the newsroom until it can be shown as a way to affirm, Black dysfunction, Black pathology, recklessness, irresponsibility, and on and on.
If only your editors could see the space and the brains and the minds here, right? This would really blow everyone away. I wanted to come back to one of the things you had said earlier, too. You work a lot with archives. And in this era of immediate gratification where it's just, with a few taps of a thumb, we get it, this is for the listeners and people seeing this. That's not what an archive is. Right. You really have to get in the weeds.
Right. And journalism, by the way, is not people sitting in pajamas and reporting around their feet.
No, absolutely. You have to put on your walking shoes and really get there and get out there.
Yeah.
So are you even more passionate about research because modern technology and, and also because of still these stereotypes that are out there. I mean, these are two things going on.
I'm passionate about archives because it is the best way I have found to produce construct a counter narrative to so many of the lies that come from the top places, the top publishers, the top universities, you name it. So much of what has been written about Black life is not true.
And it's not confirmed.
But we can see in the archives it's empirical. It's evidence. It's the kind of evidence that even the universities can't dismiss.
One of your books on the young Congolese boy, Oda Banger, who was kidnapped in 1903 and brought to the World's Fair as an exhibit. Talk about what the archive meant to you, and to discover that this human being, it's so poignant. Yeah.
Well, I couldn't have told that story without the archives, because for 100 years, the people who had most exploited Oda Banger got to tell the story, and guess who turns out to be the hero of his story? The people who exploited him, because it's their story. Because Oda Banger had no papers. Oda Banger had no voice, no platform. So the only way I was able to find Oda Banger's his agency, his voice, was in the archives of those who exploited him. Because in the archives, they were communicating daily what was going on with him. So I was able to find his footsteps through the Congo, from the Congo to Brussels, throughout the United States, through newspaper clippings, through anthropological field notes, because there happened to be an anthropologist who was working in the Congo at the time he was taken. And all through his papers, he's talking about Oda Banger. He's writing to his mother about Oda Banger. Oh. There's another anthropologist who's talking about how intelligent he was, how he had taught her this complicated string trick. So anyway, and through the letters mainly of the man who kidnapped him, and his articles where he openly talked about, one of his articles, the headline was "How I Hunted Pygmies in the Congo." And another article that he wrote for the Atlantic magazine, he talked about how women and men cried through the night as he was taking their children putting them on boats. He talked about all of the arms that he had, how he traveled there, how he got permission, he got a letter from the State Department, from the U.S. State Department, sanctioning this trip.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's in the archives where this history lies, untouched. It's unfiltered look at what has happened, and yet the public face of these same people, they're saying an entirely different thing.
Pamela, I have to come full circle to this space, to this place where we are here in the Diaspora Salon. What does it mean for you to be in this space, in a place like this, to be able to talk about your life's work?
Yeah, well, it's wonderful because I give talks all around the world, and it's usually not to us, right? To speak to people, not just to speak to people who kind of understand and have a hunger for this, but to speak to other people who are doing work that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Right? And how we can kind of feed on each other.
Sure.
And I think that's the best part of this experience, is that you're being exposed to like minds who are doing work that could be so different, but yet there's that intersection.
Sure.
And we can help each other too.
Sure.
So I think that's really the beauty, and also to have transnational conversations is always, always important.
It sure is, and this is it's a testament to Marianne, who figured this out.
Yeah.
And got us all here.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a similar series called Black Portraitures. Deb Willis at NYU has done these salons all over the world.
Yeah.
Johannesburg, New York, Paris. So, I mean, I think, and we have to remember that the Pan-African Congress was doing this exact same thing 100 years ago.
Was it a little bit more underground, or
No,
was
it wasn't underground. The difference was it was more like the leadership. It was,
I see.
It was Du Bois. It was
okay?
It was, and there were not very many women, if any.
Sure, it was an ivory tower. Really, it was almost like a special club.
They were the representatives of the race,
right?
But they were from all over the world. You know, all over the African diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
So we're continuing really in their footsteps, and it's important to remember that none of us are creating. We're standing on the shoulders.
Right, we're continuing, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
Well, Dr. Pamela Newkirk, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this moment, for this chat. And thank you again for listening, for watching the Diaspora Salon from Marrakesh, Morocco. We'll see you next time.